Before we get on with the podcast, I'd like to mention that I now have 3 books for sale on Kindle. Recommended Reading for the True Conservative, Bad Democrat, and now Evil Liberal. All available for $3.99 or through Kindle Unlimited. Now, on with the podcast.
James changed his gender, can he stay in the NBA? Or, because he's a woman, does he have to go to the WNBA where he will score 840 points a game? Like women are actually equal to men, then there would be no WNBA, would there? You would just be good enough to play in the NBA with us. Or, here's another idea that's going to be very controversial. You could shut the up.
Good morning. It's Friday, Music Friday, August the 7th, and this is The True Conservative. Welcome to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there. I'm Ron, your host, and the only true conservative in the United States today. So today, after the Serenity prayer and the patriotic song of the day, we will have Varney and Company, Evil Liberal, and music. All that and more when I get back. God, give us the grace to accept with serenity the things that cannot be changed, courage to change the things which should be changed, and the wisdom to distinguish the one from the other. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardship as a pathway to peace, taking, as Jesus did, this sinful world as it is, not as I would have it. Trusting that you will make all things right if I surrender to your will, so that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with you forever in the next. Amen. Thank you. And now a little bit of Maria, then Stu.
and it is higher across the board. Gains in technology leading this market, but it is broader than just tech. The Dow Industrial's up in the triple digit. The NASDAQ right now up as well. 352 points on the NASDAQ, and the Dow Industrial's up 147. I will see you tonight on Marie Bartiromo's Wall Street, and then again on Sunday on Fox News for Sunday Morning Futures. Have a great weekend. Varney Company picks it up now. Stu, take it away.
Good morning, Maria. Good morning, everyone. We've got the numbers and the reaction, so here we go on Jobs Friday. The economy did not add jobs in July. The opposite happened. The economy lost 23,000. That was the second worst monthly performance this year. 4.1%, that's the unemployment rate. All right, here's the market reaction. Stocks up. They were higher before the numbers came out. Now they've gone up some more. A weak jobs number means the Fed is not likely to raise rates. The Dow Industrial is up about 140. This is pre-market, of course. The S&P up 40. Solid gain for the NASDAQ, 353 points, 1.2% to the upside. The price of oil, roughly $76 a barrel this morning. And the 10-year Treasury yield, that's coming down. Look at that, all the way down to 4.62%. Same with the 2-year. The yield is down 418 as we speak. Bitcoin, $65,000 a coin, 65.2. Let's get to the world war news. The president says the Strait of Hormuz is sort of open, and he says the war is going to end pretty soon, his words. He denies there's any real problem with the supply of weapons. He says that story was fake news. The socialists win another primary election. Justin Pearson scored a big win in Tennessee. He's a DSA member. And the Democratic Socialists of America put this out. Detroit is poised to become the first major city with full DSA representation in Congress. Is your city next? There's a threat. A surprise in the Wisconsin gubernatorial election, far-left candidate Francesca Hong, who famously called for Thanksgiving to be cancelled, will not get an endorsement from Bernie Sanders. He hasn't been following the election, he says. Friday, August 7th, 2026.
And that was Stuart Varney, Nonprofit News Now. Back in a minute. Thank you. It only existed because we stayed silent. Our voice does not have to be loud to be powerful. It has to be firm. It has to be consistent, and it has to be honest. Even saying, that's not true, or I don't see it that way, can be revolutionary in a dynamic where our thoughts and feelings have long been dismissed or overwritten. Over time, using our voice begins to shift the balance. We're no longer reacting from a place of fear or appeasement. We're acting from a place of self-respect. And that shift is what the liberal fears most. Not our volume, not our anger, but our refusal to play along. It's also worth noting that our voice isn't just for them, it's for us. When we speak the truth, we reinforce it within ourselves. We rebuild the internal connection that the liberal tried to sever. We stop needing external validation because our own words became enough. Our voice becomes a declaration of self, a reclamation of autonomy. We stop existing in their story and start living in our own. We become someone. We're no longer afraid to be seen, to be heard, to take up space. And the moment we do that, we become someone a liberal can no longer control. They despise indifference more than hatred. Hatred, as much as it appears to be a rejection, still involves deep emotional investment. If we hate someone, we're still emotionally entangled with them. We're still reacting, still feeding the dynamics, still playing a role in their psychological theater. And for the liberal, that's enough. They don't care whether our emotional energy is positive or negative, as long as it's directed at them. They feel significant. Hatred fuels their sense of importance. It tells them they matter. What shakes them to the core is being treated as irrelevant. Indifference is the emotional void that a liberal cannot fill, redirect, or manipulate. When we stop reacting, when we stop explaining, when we stop needing them to understand or apologize, we strip them of their power. We are no longer hooked into the emotional feedback loop they depend on. They can provoke guilt, insult, or flatter, but none of it lands. And that's terrifying to them because What they fear most is not being hated, it's being invisible, being nothing, being unable to affect our mind, our choices, our emotional state. When a conservative becomes indifferent to a liberal, it signals that the conservative is healed or is healing. It means the psychological bond has been severed. It means that the liberal is no longer the central figure in their victim's narrative. This loss of centrality is unbearable for someone who has built their identity on control, admiration, and attention. Indifference is not passive, it's active disengagement. It's a boundary that doesn't need to be declared because it's already lived. We're no longer fighting, no longer pleading, no longer trying to fix or understand them. We've simply moved on. Liberals are deeply addicted to attention, what's often referred to as supply. This can take many forms: praise, fear, devotion, conflict. Any form of attention is acceptable as long as it reinforces their inflated self-image. But when we give them nothing, when we stop participating in the emotional game, they're forced to confront the vacancy inside them. They may try to provoke a reaction just to get a spark of emotional engagement. They might escalate, act out, or play the victim. But if none of that works, if we remain calm and emotionally distant, it breaks the spell. Indifference is also powerful because it reflects a shift in internal priorities. We're no longer looking to the liberal for resolution, justice, or recognition. We've stopped making their validation the measure of our worth. We've stopped hoping they will finally see or change our perspective. That detachment doesn't mean we're unforgiving. It means we've chosen our peace over the chaos of continued engagement. And for the liberal, that's infuriating. They thrive on being the center of gravity. Indifference means they've lost that gravitational pull. This emotional neutrality is often misunderstood as weakness or suppression, but it's the opposite. It's the result of deep emotional work. To become indifferent to someone who once had such a powerful hold over our mind and emotions is a sign of strength, not detachment from reality. It means we process the grief, the betrayal, the confusion. We've stopped internalizing their projections. We no longer need closure from them because we've given it to ourselves. We've stopped believing that their chaos defines our story. What's devastating for a liberal is that indifference cannot be manipulated. You can't guilt somebody into caring who's already let go. You can't provoke someone who has nothing left to prove. You can't use charm, rage, or pity on someone who's emotionally closed the door. Indifference is final, and they know it. That's why they often return, sometimes after weeks, months, or even years, testing to see if the door is still open. It's rarely about respect or cooperation. It's about checking if they still matter. And when they find they don't, it's a psychological injury they can't easily recover from. What liberals truly fear is being stripped of the emotional influence they wield over others. Indifference is the signal that this influence is gone. It's a mirror held up to their emptiness. There's no audience, no reaction, no emotional currency left to trade. Just silence, just space, just the absence of the power they once held. And while hatred may make them angry, indifference renders them powerless. It reminds them that no matter how much they tried to control the narrative, in the end, they were never the author of our story. Accountability is their undoing. Liberals build their psychological structure on a carefully crafted illusion. They're always right, always justified, always the victim or the hero, never the one responsible. To be held accountable is to puncture that illusion, is to force a confrontation with the one thing they spent a lifetime avoiding, the truth that their actions have consequences, that their words carry weight, and that other people are not props in their performance. Liberals resist accountability because it threatens their control over the narrative. If they can no longer distort reality to suit their needs, their entire identity begins to unravel. Accountability means facing facts without the filter of ego. It demands integrity. It requires acknowledgement of harm done, admission of flaws, and a willingness to make amends. These are foreign concepts to a liberal, not because they are incapable of understanding them, but because accepting them would dismantle the superiority complex that protects them from their own inner wounds. Liberals are often deeply insecure, but rather than facing that pain, they construct an external persona that appears invulnerable. To be held accountable is to admit that the persona is false. It strips away their armor and exposes the fear, shame, or inadequacy underneath. When someone confronts a liberal with clear, undeniable evidence of wrongdoing, the liberal doesn't reflect. They deflect. They'll deny, minimize, rationalize, or even project the blame onto us. They'll say we're too sensitive, too emotionally misinterpreting, overreacting. They'll rewrite the story so that they come out clean, even if the truth is staring them in the face. It's not about logic for them, it's about control. If they can control the interpretation of events, they believe they can control the consequences. But accountability breaks this cycle. It insists that actions matter more than appearances. There's also a deep fear within the liberal that if they're ever truly held responsible for all the pain they've caused, they'd be overwhelmed by the weight of it. So they live in a kind of psychological flight from truth, constantly manipulating circumstances to avoid facing that reckoning. They don't just lie to others, they lie to themselves. They construct stories where their behavior is always justified, their intentions always noble, their mistakes always caused by somebody else. But accountability removes those stories and replaces them with reality. And that reality is something they've never developed the tools to deal with. The moment we start requiring accountability in our interactions with a liberal, everything changes. It doesn't have to be a confrontation. It can be a simple refusal to play the game. It's when we stop accepting vague apologies, when we ask direct questions, when we no longer let them off with excuses, when we respond to gaslighting with calm, factual statements, when we stop dancing around their ego and start standing firmly in the truth. That instance on responsibility forces the liberal into a corner. They can either lash out or retreat. But what they can't do is maintain the illusion of blamelessness. What terrifies them even more is when others begin to hold them accountable. This is Ron, your host, the only true conservative in the United States today, bidding adios to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there, and reminding you that you're not neutral and that the government has no rights.